Hey guys, and welcome back to Music 61 and 61A. This week we're going to cover 6/8 meter. So 6/8 meter is what is referred to as compound meter, and that's because each beat is divided up into 3/8 note pulses. 6/8, for example, is two main beats. However, each of those beats has 3/8 note pulses, making for 6/8 notes altogether in the measure. Each of the main beats is notated with a dotted half note. So because in a key signature we can't write 2 over a dotted half note like we can for 2/4, which means 2 quarter notes, we have to use the eighth note division, and that's why you have 6/8 notes. But really it's two large beats per measure, each one divided up into 3, so making 6 total. The way that you conduct in 6/8, you go down first, and then in, so for me it's to my left. You can see me, I'm going to the right on your screen, but you go to the left. So down, left, left, right, right, up. Down, left, left, right, right, up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's the conducting pattern we'll be using for the following exercises. Alright, let's take a look at some rhythmic elements. We'll be seeing in these exercises the dotted half note, which covers up all 6 beats of the measure. So it's like the whole note equivalent of a 6/8. The half note with the dot, so it's 3 plus 3 is 6. 6/8 notes altogether is a dotted half note. Here's how I would conduct it. Ta, 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 ta. The dotted quarter note is 3/8 notes long, so it's actually one beat in 6/8. Usually we'll see 2 of these in a measure. This is how it sounds with conducting. Ta, 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 ta. Here's a very common rhythmic element filling up 3 beats. We have a quarter note plus an eighth note. And I would say ta, ti. Here's how it would sound with conducting. Ta, ti, 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 ta, ti. The reverse of that is the eighth note plus the quarter, and that would be ti-ta, ti-ta. Here's how that would sound with conducting. Ti-ta, 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 ti-ta. And then, of course, you can have 3/8 notes put together, and that's what this would sound like with conducting. Ti 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 ti. All right, those are the elements that we're going to be dealing with so far in 6/8 meter. All right, here we are, the first rhythmic example, rhythm A. We've got a tempo of 108 beats, and the dotted quarter note beat is actually 108. So this is going to be quite fast. So I'm going to have to modify what I said in the beginning of this lecture and say that that conducting pattern, if we tried to do all 6 beats at 108, would be way too fast. So what we do in these cases with faster tempos is we just conduct 2 beats as if it was in 2/4, but we feel each beat divided up into 3 pulses. So that's why we give it the compound meter effect. So I'll show you that when we get to the performance. But for now, let's do an analysis of the rhythmic elements. So I'm starting off mezzo piano, and I've got a pickup of 1/8 note. I get into my first full measure. Each of these 6/8 measures breaks down right down the middle, so 3 beats plus 3 beats. So my first 3 beats, I've got 3/8 notes. And on my second 3 beats, I've got a quarter and an eighth note. Okay? So that's how I always view 6/8 meter. I look at the measure and I divide it up into halves of 3 beats.
The next measure is a full beat. It's a dotted half note, so we don't really divide this measure up. The whole measure is taken up by that dotted half note. Next measure, however, we have the first 3 beats is a dotted quarter note, and the next 3 beats is the 3/8 notes. See, so that's how I'm reading this measure. Then we've got dotted quarter note, and then a quarter rest and an 8th note. When I come in on that 8th note, I'm going to come in mezzo forte. Alright, next I've got 3/8 notes plus 3/8 notes. That's pretty easy. And then I've got a dotted half note, also easy. Now this is tricky. We got an 1/8 and a quarter and then an 1/8 and a quarter. So we're going to flip the tas and the ts for this particular measure. We're going tita, tita, like that. Alright, and then we got a dotted quarter and a dotted quarter rest. Good. Next measure. Piano dynamic, 3/8 notes and then a quarter and an 1/8. And then the next measure is the same thing, 3/8 notes and a quarter and an 1/8. Next line, we're still piano dynamic. I've got a quarter, 1/8 quarter, 1/8 quarter, so that's the reverse pattern. That's a little tricky to do. And then I've got a dotted quarter and a dotted quarter rest. Now I'm coming in forte on the beat. 3/8 notes, quarter and an 1/8 note. 3/8 notes, quarter and an 1/8 note again. Quarter and an 1/8 note, quarter and an 1/8 note. I've got a dotted quarter note, and I've got a quarter rest and an 1/8 note, and that 1/8 note I am mezzo piano again. Then I got 3/8 notes, quarter and an 1/8 note, and I got a dotted half note, takes up the whole measure, dotted quarter, 3/8 notes, dotted quarter, and then a quarter rest, and that's only quarter rest because the pickup 1/8 note is at the beginning of the exercise. Okay, we are ready to do this one. Let's try it out.
Here's my metronome marking. Alright, so this is 108. Now I taught you before about the 6/8 conducting pattern. Imagine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. That's too fast. So we're going to use instead is the 2/4 conducting pattern, but we're going to imagine 6 beats. So it's like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ready? Ti 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 ta ti ta ta ti 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 ta ti 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 ta ti ta ti ta ta ti 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 ta ti 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 ta ti ti ta ti ta ta ti 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 ta ti 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 ta ti ta ti ta ti ta ti 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 ta ti ta ta ti 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 ta.
Rhythm B, I'm going to go through the same process. Okay, I've got my dotted quarters at 1/16, so this is another fast one. I'm going to do this one with 2 conducting pulses. I've got an 1/8 note pickup, and I'm starting mezzo forte. First measure, I've got quarter 1/8 and then quarter 1/8. Next measure, quarter 1/8 and 3/8 notes. Quarter 1/8, 3/8 notes again. Quarter 1/8 rest. Quarter rest, 1/8 note, and that 1/8 note is forte. Next measure, quarter note, 1/8 note, 3/8 notes. Quarter note, 1/8 note, 3/8 notes. 3/8 notes, quarter note, 1/8 note. Quarter note, quarter rest. Then I got a quarter rest and a quarter 1/8 note, and that 1/8 note is coming in with a piano dynamic. 3/8 notes plus 3/8 notes. Quarter and an 1/8 note, quarter note and an 1/8 note. 3/8 notes and 3/8 notes. Quarter note, 1/8 rest. Quarter rest, 1/8 note comes in with a forte dynamic. Then I got quarter note, 1/8 note, 3/8 notes. Quarter note, 1/8 note, 3/8 notes. 3/8 notes, quarter note, 1/8 note. Dotted quarter, and then a quarter note, which is only 2 beats because of the pickup at the beginning. Alright, let's give this one a try.
There's 1/16. Ti ta ti ta ti ta ti 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 ta ti 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 ta ti ta ti 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 ta ti 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 ta ti ta ti 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 ta ti ta ti 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 ta Ti ta ti 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 ta ti 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 ta ti ta. That's it for the rhythm portion. Let's take a look at some melodies.